Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to unseal the non-public minutes from the meeting of February 3rd, 2010.
Second.
Motion by Malaby, seconded by Grenice. I will poll the board. Mr. Chase.
No, I do not feel it's appropriate to unseal those minutes at this time.
Mr. Fishman.
No, not to unseal.
Mr. Healy.
No.
Mr. Grenice.
No, to not unseal.
Mr. Myers.
Abstain.
Mr. Feinauer.
No.
Mr. Malaby.
No.
And Mr. O'Connor.
No.
And the chair votes no. So those minutes remain sealed. At this point, we will begin our normal meeting agenda, which we, as traditionally, start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So in terms of housekeeping notices, we do continue to permit remote attendance if anyone is in the viewing audience and would like to comment or raise questions on any matter this evening. You may visit www.zoom.us, enter the meeting ID 754-663-912, or by telephone with multiple numbers, one of which being area code 646-558-8656, and enter the same meeting ID 754-663-912. If you are on the phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself when you've been recognized, and *9 to raise your hand to request to be recognized. The emergency exits are at the rear of the hall where you came in. In the event of an alarm activation, you may also use the one to my right. However, the elevator will not be active during an alarm activation, so you'll need to wait for first responders to assist you. And if you have electronic devices that make noises, this would be a good time to silence them. Thank you. So the first item on the agenda is escrow. Item number 24-08, Joseph McCarron.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, let's say the release is for, again, just for the record, McCarron lot line adjustment. The developer is Joseph McCarron. Property is located at 13 Field Road and 55 North Shore Road, PID 56001 and PID 52005. It's a cash escrow. Action requested, please release cash amount in the amount of $3,952.80 for the above noted project. This escrow account is non-interest bearing. And on the second page, the release has been signed by Mike Fowler, Public Works, Mark LaRue, Public Works, Bob Mackey, Code Enforcement, and myself. And staff would recommend approval.
Any comments or questions from the board? If not, a motion?
Okay, please release cash escrow in the amount of $3,952.80 for the above noted project. This escrow account is non-interest bearing.
Second.
So moved by O'Connor, seconded by Grenice. I will poll the board. Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Grenice.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Feinauer.
Yes.
Mr. Malaby.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Next item on our agenda is approval of minutes of April 3rd, 2024. Has anyone noticed any errors or omissions?
Mr. Chair, if there's no corrections coming forward at this point, then I would move to accept the minutes of April 3rd as is.
Second.
Moved by Mr. O'Connor, seconded by Mr. Grenice to accept the minutes as written. Poll the board. Mr. Chase.
Yes.
Mr. Fishman.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Mr. Grenice.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Mr. Feinauer?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Next item is correspondence.
Don't believe we have any correspondence.
Sweet.
Get the night off.
Business. I'm sorry, was there a comment? Or
Oh, got the night off.
Under other business,
Okay.
first extension request for parcel ID 30070, 16 Franklin Street, McMaster Development LLC.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, again, this is the first request. This is for the site right outside our parking lot, the house that had the fire, at the corner of Franklin and Pearl Street. It's been purchased by Steve McMaster Development. They are working with Mark and myself to get the final conditions for escrow and get the plan signed. So they would like a 6-month extension, which would put them into October 18th, 2024. Staff would recommend to extend the approval for 6 more months.
Questions or comments from the board? Mr.
Yep.
Greenies.
Quick question. Mr. Yara, so the person, I remember the person came before us with the fire, so he decided not to do anything?
He sold, yeah, once it got approved, yeah, he sold the project. I think he's from Worcester, Mass, and he sold it to Steve McMaster, a local builder.
Okay, yeah, I was curious what was going on with that.
no
Thanks.
As a matter of fact, they're working on it tonight.
Yeah,
So, Mr. Sears, in the cases where development properties and development approvals are sold, is there anything that happens with transfer of any escrow?
no, I'll defer to Mark. I don't think so, Mark.
Yeah, there was no escrow established. So typically, they do that transaction, or sometimes there's a deal for the initial party to retain the escrow while they build it. There's a lot of different agreements that go on, but in this case, no escrow was filed, so he assumed the project and now will provide the escrow and all the other documents required from the conditional approval that you voted on.
Any other comments or questions? Not a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve 6-month extension of the conditional approval granted October 18, 2023 to PID 30070, 16 Franklin Street. The new expiration date will be October 18, 2024.
Second.
So moved by Ganese, seconded by Malaby. I will poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Ganese?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Feinauer?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Next item under other business is review of planning board policies and procedures on the second reading.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, if you go to page 7 in the policies and procedures, we highlighted in yellow, the board had asked, it was brought up by Dan Healy, which is a good thing, about some language regarding the public hearing process and when to open and close a public hearing. So we didn't have this in here before, so staff and the chairman thought maybe the appropriate place to put it would be in section 6, when you do all your regular order of business, and then you can see the paragraph. This is what staff and the chair came up with. Please feel free to amend, change, delete, add whatever, but that's what we thought captured the language that the board talked about at the last meeting.
So has everyone had a chance to take a look at that yellow highlighted paragraph? Does that capture everyone's input and concerns that we talked about previous meeting? Mr. Chase?
Pretty much. The only concern that we had brought up the last time is so that the public doesn't start going back and forth negatively with the applicant. Everything should go through the chair so that we don't get a back and forth, especially on contentious projects. Sometimes the public will go at the applicant, and we really need a buffer there so that we don't have a...
Yeah, in terms of the
Control.
physical spacing, that is something I think that we can, do under our just ad hoc procedures.
Yeah.
As to running debates, that's kind of one of the important jobs of the chair is to stop that.
And I agree.
And, it is covered by Robert's rules.
Okay.
So I think we're covered there. So if you're
Satisfied.
happy with that response, then we can deal with it that way. Any other comments, Mr. Myers?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I don't see what the problem was. The way we did it before, there was more decorum, it was more formal. People came up from the audience and asked questions, and 99 times out of 100, the chair or members of the board would keep track of what the questions and concerns were, and then the applicant would come back and address those concerns. To just kind of open it up to like a back and forth, I see as kind of a dangerous precedent where, you know, with all due respect to the chair now and the former chair, I think that it could just get out of control and just, you know, not go through the chair. And so I kind of liked it the way it was before with more formality.
Okay. Does anyone want to address Mr. Meyer's concerns?
Yeah, so it wasn't in the policy prior. At a meeting, I was told that it wasn't in the policy. I'm not opposed to not having it in the policy, but I just want the public to have the opportunity to have all their questions answered. If there's, you know, development going in near their house, that make sure that they have a chance to have their questions satisfactorily answered. So if they come up, they ask a question, the developer then comes up, but because of something the developer says, they have a follow-up question. I just want to make sure that we're not closing the public hearing before they can get all their answers to something that could be affecting them. So, I mean, I'm okay if it's not in the policy. We didn't have a policy prior. I just want to make sure that if someone comes to a meeting, they take the time out of their day to come here and to voice their concerns, that they're going to get everything answered before they leave. Even if it's not the answers that they want, they're at least getting it answered.
Mr. Myers?
I'm sorry, I don't want to get into an argument, I really don't, but I don't see how that's been a problem before. In my observation, in the short couple of years I've been here, it has seemed to me that the chair has done a very good job being very formal and allowing the concerns to come through the chair. I can't recall a time when people have not had their concerns addressed, so I don't see the need for the change.
Mr. Grenies?
Thank you. Remember, we discussed at the last meeting. I have an issue. The wording is semi-correct. I was under the impression that, you know, after we did all that, the applicant would come up, present the project. Well, normally, the applicant comes up, presents the project, then we accept jurisdiction, termination of impact, then we open a public hearing. Then it says the applicant asked to formally present the project. So they're not presenting it. They're not presenting until after we take jurisdiction. And then it says the public is first invited to ask questions, make comments, and then followed by comments, members of the board. I thought we talked about having the public come up and ask questions, and then after the one person come up, then the applicant would answer that person's questions instead of waiting till the end. And then the next person would come up, and once everybody had all the answers, the questions answered by the developer, then we would close the public hearing, and then it would go back to the board.
Yeah, so that is intended to be covered by the sentence that says the applicant is invited to interactively answer questions and rebut comments as they arise.
No, but it says that the public first be invited to ask questions and make comments, followed by comments and questions from members of the board. So it sounds like that during the public, the way I'm reading it, unless I'm not an attorney, but the way I'm reading it, it sounds like that we open a public hearing, the applicant then comes up, explains, makes the ask to formally present the project, then the public is invited to ask questions and make comments, and then we get questions and comments, and then the applicant is invited to interactively answer questions and rebut comments as they arise, and then follow-up questions, and then it's closed.
Yeah, so one of the things was that we have had situations where questions from the board, which were asked of the applicant after the public hearing was closed, raised follow-on questions from the public, which technically we had to kind of reopen the public hearing for them to answer. So the way this is written is the public asks its questions, they get answered. We ask our questions, they get answered. Public can have follow-up questions, and then once everyone's questions are answered, then we close the public hearing just before starting to take votes.
Mr. Chair? On one of the sentences, can we assume, and I'm going to read it, the applicant is invited to interactively answer questions? I mean, this can go on all night. Is that questions from the board or question, I know I'm being nitpicky, or questions from the public?
Yeah, so there were a couple of drafts of this. One of them was, 1 through N as in the paragraph above, that made it very rigid as to what happened. Staff thought that this covering what we want to have happen was slightly less rigid. But again, one of the jobs of the chairman is not to let repetitive questions go on all night. But I think it was useful to allow the board to have questions, which may raise follow-on questions in the public's mind, and have them answered before we actually close the public hearing, and that way everyone has all their questions answered. If the board doesn't like that, we can do something else, of course. Mr. Chase.
To address Mr. Granisi's concern about having to accept jurisdiction first, we can't accept jurisdiction first. We have to hear the plan first to see if the plan is complete enough to accept jurisdiction. So
Right.
by rule, that has to be first. Because unless we have the plan presented to us, we don't know if it's complete, and we can't accept jurisdiction unless the plan is complete.
All right, so Mr. Soros, maybe you can chime in on how the TRC helps us with that?
Can I rebut?
no,
a
go
little
ahead.
bit? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll let Dave.
So, Mr. Chase, so in reading this, you're right, I know that, but in reading this, it sounds like that we do all that before the applicant formally presents the project. Because it says, after the board votes, accept jurisdiction, determination of regional impact, public hearing, the applicant is asked to formally present the project. After we take,
Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying,
that-
that's why I was saying that, this
that's
makes no
correct.
sense.
Yeah, that shouldn't be there. I see what David's saying now, right? The applicant's going to present that project before,
That's the first thing, because we open a
Take
public hearing, you
jurisdiction,
do your
right.
spiel, and then we do all that, and then we open a public hearing.
so that sentence either has to be removed, well, it should be removed altogether. The applicant is asked to formally present the project. We need to remove that.
Yeah, I see what he's saying
I
now.
see what
Or
you're
you
saying
can
now,
simply
Dave.
shuffle the order.
Or shuffle it, right, you could do that.
Yeah,
I mean, that seems very reasonable.
Yeah, that's fair. I
could
totally
move
get what
that from-
David's saying
Yeah.
now.
For each formal application, then the applicant's asked to formally present the project, and then you go on.
And then we do the jurisdiction, regional impact, and then open the public hearing.
That's how we do it.
All right,
So
right.
I
That
understand what
sounds good.
David
That sounds
Quincy's
good.
saying now.
That's why I was reading this. I
Okay,
was getting
no,
all-
that's,
now I got it.
it makes sense now. The way you
why I-
just read it, Dave, it makes sense.
Okay, so we can make that change.
Yeah,
Any other comments, changes, requests?
So I wasn't trying to make this more complicated, and I know the past chairs have let people speak after the public hearing's closed. I just noticed, so the public comes up during the public hearing, and right when the last member of the public sits down before the developer or applicant comes back up, we've been closing the public forum. So basically, my thought on it was we would keep the public hearing open. So the public speaks, the applicant comes back up, and then we have our questions for the applicant or whatever. Then we close the public
Yeah.
hearing at that point.
That was the intent.
Because we've been closing it, the second the last person from the public speaks, and once the applicant answers their question, they might have a follow-up. So it wasn't really trying to complicate or confuse it. And I know we've been opening or allowing them to speak after the close of the public hearing.
Yeah, and I think that, is always, the chair's discretion. And we haven't had anything really contentious recently. I guess my only concern was if we closed the public hearing and then we allowed some people to speak on some cases and not other people to speak on other cases, that could be a problem. So if we don't close the public hearing until everyone's done, then that makes it cleaner in my view.
Yeah, we don't establish precedents, so.
So other than switching the order of the presentation and the jurisdiction and regional impact, any other revisions we need to make? Okay, hearing none, then maybe, Mr. Soros, you would make those changes and bring it back?
yeah, staff will make the change, and then we'll come back at our next meeting. We call it the third reading, and then you can approve it that night. So we'll make that change that we talked about. So, okay, you don't need to vote on that. Just, I'm going to go get the applicant. They're in the site, looking at the plans in advance, so let me go get them 1 minute, and
Let me find the agenda again. All right, so the next thing on the agenda is planning director and chairman updates. I'll just say that we still have 3 vacancies for alternates on the planning board, and make my ongoing appeal for members of the public to find that what we do is sufficiently valuable and interesting that they might go to the town website and apply for one of those positions. Mr. Suris, do you have any updates?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public hearing for Hidden Pond Dairy LLC, parcel ID 04040, 98 Gulf Road, a 2-lot subdivision.
Yeah, they're on their way, okay. Let me, I could do my staff report if you want, Mr. Chairman, and then we can turn it over to the applicant. So, the applicant is Hidden Pond Dairy LLC, David Aldrich. The property is located at 98 Gulf Road. The purpose of the plan is for a 2-lot subdivision located again in the low-density residential district. That's a 3-acre minimum lot size in that part of town. 1 new house lot is being created. There's an existing home on the property with a horse farm. All town departments have reviewed and signed the plan. We have the hard copies here in the staff box here. There is a letter dated March 28th from Lavelle Associate Land Surveyors for utilities to allow for underground electrical connections, and I'll let the applicant speak more detail on that. They have obtained their New Hampshire DES state subdivision approval. We have a copy in the file. Staff would recommend approval of both the waiver request and the subdivision application. And I'll turn over to Ryan Lavelle, the surveyor who's representing the applicant.
Good evening, members of the Derry Planning Board. My name is Ryan Lavelle with Lavelle Associates, representing Hidden Pond Dairy LLC. It is my privilege to present to you guys tonight a proposal for a minor subdivision on tax map 4 lot 40 located at 98 Gulf Road in Derry. This property is 38.89 acres. It is proposed to be subdivided with the intention of creating 1 additional building lot, reducing the overall total to 35.89 acres. The purpose of the subdivision is to facilitate the construction of a new dwelling for my client's business partner. I would like to provide some context regarding the steps through this project. Over the course of its development, we have diligently engaged with multiple revisions and meetings for it, aiming to refine our plans and address various challenges. Initially, there were considerations for more extensive subdivision layouts, more lots, etc., particularly towards the west of the property. However, after careful assessment of factors such as terrain steepness and ledge, we have decided to adopt a more modest approach. As a result, our current proposal focuses solely on the creation of this additional lot. Throughout this process, we have actively collaborated with the TRC meetings, incorporating their feedback into our plans. This includes adjustments to address concerns raised by the fire department and optimized driveway configurations. And I'm pleased to share that these revisions have been documented with our new plan sets, which also includes detailed illustrations of the proposed driveway on the last 2 sheets. Conservation has also expressed no objections to the project when I reached out. In summary, we believe that this minor subdivision prevents a commendable and well-considered use of the property. By creating an addition and building lot, we aim to support local economic activity while adhering to the best practices in land development and environmental preservation. The waiver that spoke of before was for overhead electric in lieu of the underground electric, and that stems from Mark LaRue's comments that he thought it would be a better site with the ledge and the factors that go into this property, that it would be better to ask for that waiver than try to do it the other way. Any questions at this point, I can answer them from any board member.
So, the electric, you were asking to have it overhead?
Yeah.
Okay, because the motion maker says to allow for underground, so I think that's probably
Yeah, I think that
the
must be a
opposite
typo
way.
or something, right?
That was, yeah, it was in, I took it out of the letter, my apologies on that one.
Okay, so we'll just fix that when we read that. Great, thank you.
Yep.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept jurisdiction, move to accept jurisdiction of the two-lot subdivision plan, plan for Hidden Pond Dairy LLC, PID 0404998 Gulf Road.
And I'll second it.
Moved by Grenice, seconded by O'Connor to accept jurisdiction. I'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Grenice?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Feinauer?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
And chair votes yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to termination of regional impact pursuant to RSA 36:56. The board finds the proposal as presented at this time meets the definition of a development of regional impact.
I'll second it.
Moved by Grenice, seconded by O'Connor. Mr. Chase?
No, this is a small subdivision, two-lot subdivision. It does not meet the definition of a regional impact.
Mr. Fishman?
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. Healy?
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. Grenice?
No, for the same reason.
Mr. Myers?
No, same reasons.
Mr. Feinauer?
No, same reasons.
Malaby?
No, same reasons.
Mr. O'Connor?
I'll concur with the board, same reason. No.
I will also vote no for the same reasons.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay, is a motion by Grenice, seconded by O'Connor to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Public hearing is open, so anyone who has questions or comments, please feel free to come up to the desk in the center of the room and ask your questions.
Seeing no one rise online, Mr. Chair.
Anyone in the audience has questions or comments, or did you get them all squared away in the back room there?
Yeah, we pretty much got it straightened out in the background.
All right, so seeing no one run to the forefront,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I'll second it.
moved by Grenice, seconded by O'Connor to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public hearing is closed. On the matter of the waiver,
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to grant waivers LDCR Section 170-31.A, other utilities, to allow for underground electrical, that's one we want to change, right?
Overhead.
Overhead. To allow, excuse me, for overhead electrical connections to the new house.
moved by O'Connor, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Malaby. Discussion? We'll poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Grenice?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Feinauer?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. As to findings of fact, what is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to find the proposed plan does not alter the existing conditions which would affect access to the lots, ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood remains unchanged as a result of the subdivision plan. The proposed development would allow for providing additional housing opportunities in the community as the high demand for housing in both Derry and the state of New Hampshire continues.
Okay, moved by Malaby,
Second.
seconded by Grenice. Discussion? Not, I will poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Grenice?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Feinauer?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to approve pursuant to RSA 676:4 Roman 1 completed application with the following conditions. Subject to owner's signature, subject to on-site inspection by the town engineer, establish appropriate escrow as required to complete the project, establish escrow for the setting of bounds or certify the bounds have been set, subject to email from Mark LaRue, Public Works, dated March 29th, 2024, to add note on site distance KNA Plan Sheet 2 of 2, that entire ROW shall be cleared of any trees and swales, shall be regarded as directed by the town's engineer 200 feet in each direction of proposed driveway. Also modify the notes on sheets 5 of 6 and 6 of 6 to reflect the specific language. Subject to the appropriate recording fees payable to the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. That includes the $25 L-chip fee, recording fees for the Mylar, and notice of decision. Obtain written approval from the planning director designee that the GIS disk is received and is operable and complies with the LDCR section 170-2414.c. Conditions shall be, precedent shall be met within 6 months.
Moved by Malaby,
Second.
second by Mr. Myers. Discussion, questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, could I add one more thing? I apologize. I have no, if you look on the waiver, if you look on the front sheet of the plan, Ryan, you have note number 10 at the top right. It's just requesting waiver for the overhead utilities. Can we just, we need to change that wording just to say that, that the waiver was granted on the date and then the section number that we have, and I'll have that for you, okay? Because it's been approved. So we just add that as one more condition to revise note number 10 to reflect the waiver.
Any objection to adding that condition?
No objections from the motion made.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
Hearing none, I will poll the board. Mr. Chase?
Yes.
Mr. Fishman?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mr. Grenice?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Feinauer?
Yes.
Mr. Malaby?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
Thank you very
Good luck.
much for your time, guys.
Thank you. Okay, you're good.
All right, that,
Finally.
we now come to the favorite part of the meeting. Are there any board member comments before we adjourn? Mr. Grenice?
Thanks. Just want to remind everybody that May 4th is downtown Derry Derby Day. There's all kinds of stuff going on, fishing at Hood Pond from 8 to 12. Pop-up family activities along Broadway, 11 to 4. Allen B. Shepherd Day, 11 to 3. And all day, you know, check out the shops and stuff. It's a great day. Hopefully the weather's going to be good. So Saturday, May 4th.
Great,
As a
thank
reminder.
you. Any other comments? Hearing none, I will fish for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by O'Connor, seconded by Grenice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Stand adjourned. Adjourned.
Yeah, I thought, so I was like,